The 2 p.m. newscast
with Promise Akante.
Thursday, the 4th of February 2021. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the 2 p.m. 88.4 Royal FM and live on Facebook on Royal FM Cameroon. Royal Afternoon Edition with me, Promise Akante, coming up. Victims of the ongoing Anglophone crisis continue to receive material and financial support from the head of state without a concrete solution proposed. Analysts qualify the gesture as
what Natanganji and the government are doing. They're exercising what we call political hypocrisy because they know that what they are doing is wrong, but they go ahead to do it.
Get details in this newscast. And still in this newscast, we will take you out of the country where the first member of the Lord's Resistance Army in Uganda has been convicted of war crimes at the ICC. And in sports, we'll come back to the defeat of the Intermediate Lions of Cameroon at the semi-finals of the ongoing Shan. Stay with us. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. You're welcome. My name is Promise Akante. We begin with health. To say that Cameroon joins the rest of the world today to celebrate World Day Against Cancer, which is observed every February 4th. I am and I will is a theme for the 2021 World Cancer Day with the aim to inform and encourage people on its prevention, early detection and treatment, an initiative taken by the Union for International Cancer Control to campaign and advocate for the targets of the World Cancer Declaration penned in 2008. Dr. Mundi Nuela explains what cancer is all about and its causes.
Cancer is an abnormal and uncontrollable or excessive growth of cells that are found in the body. Some of the risk factors for cancer include chemicals or toxic compounds, excessive exposure to X-rays, organisms like hepatitis B and C viruses, human papilloma virus, which is a risk factor for cervical cancer and certain mouth cancer, excessive use of alcohol, cigarette smoke, genetic abnormalities, congenital malformations. Having a positive family history of cancer also puts anyone at risk of developing that type of cancer. Excessive exposure to sunlight, which is a risk factor for skin cancer.
Our medical doctor goes further to give some preventive measures of cancer.
Cancers that are caused by modifiable risk factors like cigarette smoking, chronic alcohol intake, and excessive exposure to sunlight can be prevented by preventing these risk factors. Vaccines also exist for the prevention of some of the pathogens or organisms that can cause cancer, like human papilloma virus and hepatitis B viruses.
That was Dr. Mundi Nuela, a medical doctor, talking to us about cancer. As you heard in one of our top stories, victims of the Ngarbu incident in Dongamantung division of the Northwest region that led to the death of 22 people have received financial assistance from the head of state, President Paul Biya, to the tune of 80 million francs CFA. According to the emissary of the President of the Republic, Northwest Governor Adolphe Lele-Lafrique, the financial assistance is intended to assist the families begin the reconstruction of the houses that were destroyed. In a similar note, The Minister of Territorial Administration has reassured internally displaced persons living in the south region of Cameroon on the practical modalities taken by the government to ensure their return to the regions of origin. Minister Paul Atanganji was speaking yesterday in Ebolova while handing over the head of state's humanitarian relief gifts to them, without forgetting to advise those wishing to go back to their regions of origin to contact the Ministry's Department of Civil Protection for orientation, as can be heard in this excerpt.
You can see that there is legendary hospitality in Ebolova. Am I right? So that is why President Paul Biya says I should come and tell you that you have to be confident that he is doing everything for things to come back to normalcy in the northwest and southwest regions. Everything has been put in place. Very soon, most of the schools will go back operational. The businesses will come back, and you can go back and work your farm. Now you are living in hospitality, and I think that your brothers and sisters in this region have done much to grant hospitality.
That was Minister Paul Atanganji speaking there. Now, in line with the regular distributions of presidential aid to IDPs, Mapala Zita sought to know from a geostrategist the effectiveness of the head of state's gesture and put together the following package.
Just like their peers in other regions of the country, some 4,200 internally displaced persons in the south region of Cameroon yesterday received food items alongside mattresses and blankets as help from the president to better their living conditions since they are away from their regions of origin. The act is of course laudable, but the question on every lip is, for how long will these people be fed and clothed out of their homes? Mr. Alemkeng Richard is a geostrategist, and he had this to say.
You know, you can hardly help somebody who is out of his home. All what you give is just too temporary. It is uncalled for the government to continue to carry out this type of hypocritical acts by saying that they are going to assist the internally displaced persons.
Another question, or rather, the expert further wonders why the head of state and his government know the right thing to do but prefer to be pouring water on a deck's back.
So whether they give mattresses, they give rice, they give medical attention, all that just throwing water on the deck's back. The government keeps on bringing cosmetics solutions.
Another question almost every Cameroonian have been asking is if at all these food items are what the IDPs need the most.
Those people need peace of mind. Those people need to return to their homes. They need to return to their ancestral lands. They need to return to normal. They need a return to normal life. And I think the government, by continuously giving this type of relief aid, instead of solving the problem at hand, is on the other hand encouraging those boys in the bushes to continue fighting.
We all know that the different crises in this country, ranging from Boko Haram, Seleka rebels to the boys in the bushes, have made many to flee their homes, and the greatest wish will be to see them return to their villages and pick up their normal life activities without fear.
You are listening to the 2 p.m. 28.4 Royal FM, and still to come in this newscast, the constant rise in violence in our school milieu has pushed our newsroom to ask pedagogues how they are coping in this situation.
We sensitize our teachers to show love to the students and the pupils they are teaching. We have internal rules and regulations where pupils and students sign at the beginning of the school year.
And as you heard in that excerpt, the Minister of Youth Affairs and Civic Education, Mununa Fotso, is today, February 4, 2021, in Douala Littoral Region, presiding over the solemn launch of the Digital Youth Service Center cluster and the delivery of subscription installations kits to the young beneficiaries as part of the acceleration of the implementation of the 3-year Special Youth Plan, presided over by the head of state, President Paul Biya, to the government. And as Youth Week activities continue to unfold, one of the key topics going viral is violence in the school milieu, as more cases are being recorded across the country. To this effect, our reporter Frinwe Crispin interviewed a pedagogue on the measures they put in place to contain violence in the school premises. Her report.
According to the World Health Organization, violence is the intentional use of physical force or power against oneself, another person, against a group or a community. It usually results in injury, death, and many more. Mr. John Niba, a pedagogue, begins by pointing out the various sources of violence in the school milieu.
Teachers like us suffer violence first from pupils and students, and also violence from parents. Parents come to school, attack us over certain misunderstandings, and pupils themselves also attack us as we do our job. Some of those children that have become too violent, the problem may just be coming from the house.
Our pedagogue further outlines the different measures put in place to contain violence in schools.
We have a series of measures that we put in place to contain this violence. Firstly, we begin with our teachers. We sensitize our teachers to show love to the students and the pupils they are teaching, because like the saying goes, violence begets violence. A teacher who is violent, who insults children, who beats them, who punishes them unjustly, encourages violence on the part of the children.
Another way to contain violence is the establishment of rules and regulations to be respected by students and pupils, as he explains.
We have internal rules and regulations where pupils and students sign at the beginning of the school year, and when they go against such rules, there are equally sanctions that are meted. But these sanctions are far from corporal punishment. We equally have school government that is constituted by students and pupils who assist the teachers on duties and the discipline masters for secondary school to fish out violent children and violent cases.
Apart from what has been listed above, Mr. John Neba ended by saying students and pupils are usually sensitized through the teaching of moral education and citizenship to bring out the disadvantages of violence.
Freenway Crispin in that report. We stay in with the youth and to go into education to say that pupils of class 1 in primary schools aged about 4 and 5 years old are being taught the reproductive organs, a situation most parents nowadays find it very embarrassing on how to discuss it with their young kids. Our newsroom study rise to find out from some parents what approach they have when it comes to discussing sexual issues with the very young children. And our reporter, Jementa, is a lady on that bit.
The world is fast changing, and most parents still turn to shy away from social topics, from sexual topics with their younger kids. Manka Solange is a mother of 2.
This is a very sensitive topic that many parents shy away from, even mothers. But my approach to it is always very blunt. My kids are just 4 years old, but trust me, they know everything about their reproductive organs. As in, my approach to them is very blunt and friendly. I talk to them like I'm talking to my friends, because I discovered that our parents were usually scared. I don't know if they were just afraid or they were thinking that we were too small to know certain things. But if you want to look at the way we grew up and the way kids now are growing, it's different.
The same idea is being shared with this mother of 4, Anik Chawak, who believes seizing some opportunities to discuss of sexual issues is the best.
There are so many parents out there who are afraid to talk about sexual relationship with their kids. And I think, like you are asking, from 5 to 7, I will even say 5 years is very late, because when a child starts speaking, he or she will be asking some questions to the parent, like, when you give birth to another child, they will ask you, where did you take the child, and this and that. You should seize those opportunities to talk to them about sexual relationship.
Anik Chawak further adds that what she uses with her kids is to make them very easy for them to understand.
Now, concerning my approach, I think we should use words that children can understand. They're still baby. We should not use scientific words. We should use their own language level. And secondly, you are wearing your pants. If an uncle or an aunt for a boy, touch your breast or touch some of your private part, just tell me.
Avoiding names to describe reproductive organs is not that good, according to Manka Solange.
I am blunt with them about it, and I think all parents should do the same. You should be blunt. You should tell them the truth. There's no point in lying that no, this is what, like, parents give it so many names nowadays. I tell them this is your penis, this is your vagina. The vagina is used for this, penis is used for this. You have to use it this way. You don't have to use it this way. It's used to pee. You know, when you grow up, you will know the essential use of it, why God created it. But right now, you need to keep it private. When you're going to pee, cover yourself.
From this parent point of view, hiding the truth from a child is of no use simply because the world evolves every second that goes by.
We are absolutely in a fast-moving world. Thank you very much, Gementa. Now, Gementa also sought to know from a sociologist, in the person of Madame Gwenye Victorine, how to discuss sexual issues with young kids.
Yeah, discussing sex education with children is very, very simple. Let us remind ourselves, us the elders, that a topic is never a taboo unless we make it a taboo. So it is because our minds have been crowded by these aspects of something being a taboo or of a topic being a taboo. That's why we find it difficult to discuss it with our children. If we can talk HIV with them, if we can discuss malaria or headache with them, then it is very simple to discuss sex education. Let's not feel the way we used to feel before, that sex is a taboo. No, the world is fast changing. I think we just need to make it very simple, down to earth, no matter the age, so long as the child starts understanding. Because a child, as from 6 years, has a retentive brain. So we need, just like we talk over the table when we are taking breakfast, or when we are taking lunch, or when we are taking supper, or during when you are reading some stories to the child, just chip in sex education, or when we are discussing with our children in those their free time, we just need to chip in sex education, or even during religious studies, we chip in sex education. So you see that it will gradually flow along in their brains without causing any damage and without us feeling it tight. So the first thing I want to say is that we should stop making topics a taboo. We are in a fast changing world.
Thank you very much, Madame Gwenye Victorine. Away from sex education, we talk economics in this newscast to see that the cotton development company, so the Cotton, and the industrial cotton company of Cameroon, SICAM, once the pride of Cameroon on the socioeconomic level, are now sinking into sluggishness, which causes you to try to examine your report, Jessica Tangana.
Financially fragile for many years due to fierce competition from fabrics imported from China and West Africa, SICAM, the only cotton processor in Central Africa, takes another hard blow. Since October last year, the Industrial Cotton of Cameroon, SICAM, has had to close its factory in Garoua in the northern part of the country. SICAM could therefore experience some disruption in the production of the loins clothes for March 8, 2021, a date which makes the celebration of International Women's Day. This situation led us to an economist, Edmond Kouate, to inquire what actually is the problem at Sode Cotton and SICAM. He explains.
Is a problem of strategic vision at the top level of the state. When you create a company of that dimension, you define some objectives. Today, have we really been able to assess the mission and to see if the production tool is still adapted to our environment? The way we used to produce 30 years ago is not the same way we can produce today. So that is why it's very important to go through an assessment, what we call a strategic assessment evaluation, and strategic diagnostics, to actually find out, is our production tool still adapted to the environment?
Of course, the problem of SICAM and Sode Cotton impact a lot on Cameroon's economic, as he tells us.
The situation of Sode Cotton, SICAM, Cameco, and most of these national corporations, their situation impacts a lot of our economy because, it has to do with our GDP, the gross domestic product. Because when Sode Cotton is running bankrupt, when SICAM is running bankrupt, when Cameco is running bankrupt, it has a lot of impact on our gross domestic product.
And protecting our local production and encouraging Cameroonians to consume the meat in Cameroon is one, among others, some solutions to solve these problems. Still, Edmond Kouate.
got to evaluate our corporation. We got to make sure they're still adapted, and that the technology we use is adapted, and that the quality we produce is good, is what is acceptable on the market. We got to protect our corporations. When we produce locally, we should make sure we don't import it from abroad. We have to look for a cunning way to bring our Cameroonians to consume what is locally produced by Cameroon.
However, the director of Garua unit remains hopeful because, for him, SICAM has great potentials but needs the support of the state and consumers because it faces fierce competition.
Out of the country, ex-Ugandan rebel commander Dominic Ongwen has been convicted of war crimes at the International Criminal Court. Mr. Ongwen, a feared commander of the Lord's Resistance Army (LRA), is the first member of the LRA to appear before the court. He faced 7 counts of crimes against humanity and war crimes, including murder and enslavement. The charges are all related to an attack on a camp for internally displaced people in Uganda in 2004. This case presented a dilemma at the court as he appeared to be both the victim and the alleged perpetrator. He said he was abducted by the LRA and forced to be a child soldier before going to rise up the ranks to become the deputy to LRA commander Joseph Kony. Mozambican President Filipe Nyusi has offered amnesty to citizens who joined the Islamist insurgency in the gas-rich northern province of Cabo Delgado. President Nyusi promised that there will be no retaliation against those who surrender and return to their families. He made the pledge yesterday as the country paid tributes to its national heroes. The amnesty offer was also extended to citizens who have joined the ranks of a local militant organization allied to the opposition party Renamo. Hundreds have been killed by the jihadists in Cabo Delgado who launched their insurgency in 2017. About 570,000 people have been displaced. President Nyusi urged the militants to take advantage of the ongoing process of disarmament. Republicans in the U.S. House of Representatives have refused to punish a newly elected congresswoman over controversial and incendiary rhetoric. Marjorie Taylor Greene has promoted unfounded conspiracy theories and shown support for violence against Democrats. House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy condemned the remarks but said they were made before she was elected. Democrats who control the chamber say they will vote to expel her from the Education and Budget Committee. The vote is set to take place later today. Myanmar's military rulers have blocked access to Facebook days after they overthrew the democratic government. Officials said the social media platform, for many in Myanmar, the only access to the internet, will be blocked for the sake of stability. In quotes, Facebook has become a key rallying point for opposition to Monday's coup. In further civil disobedience, lawmakers are refusing to leave their compound in the capital, and more pot banging was seen in Yangon. The coup, led by Armed Forces Chief Min Aung Hlaing, installed an 11-member junta, ending a short period of majority civilian rule. Let us come back to Talk Sports.
The 2021 African Nations Football Championship CHAN Cameroon, our special page in the news.
And in sports, the Atlas Lions of Morocco have booted out of the current African Nations Football Championship CHAN, the intermediate Indomitable Lions of Cameroon. The Lions were defeated yesterday evening 4-0 by the Atlas Lions of Morocco during a semi-final match at the Limbe Omispor Stadium. Let's now get the reactions of some Cameroonians after that match.
I can say that they have tried, but the match that they play today is not similar to what they played last time, because last time you really see how they make the effort and there was defense, but today I've seen that their defense was a bit reduced.
The outcome was just automatic because I know the first winnings were just of chance, the gods of the land, that's all.
Watching the match, I feel so sad. They were not doing the rework in the field.
I expect that we should win the match, but I'm very sad about everything. If you can see, we played well, but in a match, there will be a victim and a victor.
Some Cameroonians reacting to the defeat of the Lions yesterday, and you say the squad led by coach Martin Tungumpile will have to beat Guinea during their third place playoff this Saturday at the Reunification Stadium to bow out in style. Beng Emmanuel.
It's the sort of defeat that won't be forgotten in a long march of time. The intermediate Lions of Cameroon could simply not cope with Morocco's high pressing and intensity. The North Africans illustrated confidence, quality, courage and effort to drown the Lions' hopes of claiming the maiden continental silverware on home soil. Just when it seemed the Lions had reinvigorated their campaign after overcoming two-time winners, the Democratic Republic of Congo, in the quarterfinals, they succumbed to their first defeat in the tournament, a scoreline that simply reflected the team's output. Although Morocco's defense was the busiest in the opening moments of the first half, they struck twice before the break. Sofiane Boftini opened the scoring after Ashu Kerido's blunder, while his teammate Rahimi doubled the advantage with a fine one-touch finish at the far edge of the post. But the intermediate Lions of Cameroon faded form and provided a great riposte during the second half,